Dear Mabinogians, as all of you are aware, over the past few days malicious players took advantage of many innocent players within the Mabinogi game server, making the game very difficult and frustrating to play, which ultimately led us to having no other choice but to take Mabinogi temporarily offline. We are happy to say that Mabinogi is back online, and we understand how important Mabinogi is to all of you, as Mabinogi isn't just a game. It's a place to socialize with faraway friends. It's a way to explore, be heroic, and crush monsters. It's a comfortable space to be creative, and we would like to sincerely apologize for this downtime. Over these last few days, the team at DevCat worked to identify and fix these issues. The patience and support from you, the community, has been instrumental in helping out, as the information in tickets, posts on the forums, and even direct contact from the community has helped out. Given that Mabinogi was down for nearly 40 hours, we provided each player who logged in during this time with the following to compensate the downtime. Now, this was a message to the players from the Nexon staff after the greatest hack in Mabinogi has ever happened. The good old great Black Robe hacking. So to understand first why this was such a big issue, we're going to have to talk about how they did it and why they would do it. Now, all of this started back in 2011. Somebody reported that they were teleported, and whenever they left the area, they had none of their stuff. All they had on was a black robe, or completely nothing at all. Now, the most common place to warp people was to the tent that you're seeing on screen. So we understand somewhat the method of how they were doing it, but how exactly were they baiting players into this? What was their tactics? How did they trick people? Now, mind you, this was 2011. A lot of Mabinogi players were a bit younger at the time. So all they had to do was offer something valuable to somebody, agree to a trade with them, and whenever they would accept the trade, they would get teleported into the tent, and then from there, it was pure doom and despair. Either they would leave the tent, which would cause all their character information, like their items, their gear, to be completely gone, or they could try logging out, but whenever they would log in, more often than not, their character would actually be corrupted and they wouldn't be able to continue playing on that character. Now, modern Mabinogi is relatively easy in terms of ranking up your stuff and getting gear early on. But back in the day, Mabinogi used to be a grind fest. It would take people years to get a skill to rank 1. It would take people years to level up their spirit weapon. So with this state of mind, you can understand why the community was so upset. Years of progress just wiped away in an instant. Now, you could just be hanging out until all of a sudden you look up and you see a bunch of meteors coming down at you. This is what it was like to play Mabinogi when all this was happening. And you might be asking, how were they doing it? They were using something called a packet editor, which allowed them to essentially edit information for Mabinogi. Now, when the packet editor went public, people were flocking to it. And when it went public, Nexon was actually on vacation. And at this time, Mabinogi was at its peak popularity for the time frame that it was. Now, this meant hackers ran loose for a couple weeks at a time. I remember a lot of my friends that I were playing with didn't want to log in because they were afraid of losing all their progress, and so was I. And this was the peak dark period for Mabinogi. Now, for me, some hacks were funny at first. I love seeing people break a game. Seeing somebody run at a speed that they shouldn't be able to. Seeing somebody flying in the air or clipping out of areas they shouldn't be in brings me great amusement. But whenever this went public, that's when it started to fall in the wrong hand. It was no longer, oh look, that guy has hacks and he's doing something funny. It went from that to, oh fuck, I'm probably gonna lose all my progress that I put into this game over the last 4 years. So to recap some of the things that was going on in this time period, so you get a full scale of what was happening in 2011. Hackers were able to edit all of their individual stats as well as their HP, stamina, defense, attack, all of that. Some hackers were spotted duplicating items and spawning in items as well. So this would immediately crash the economy as well. Some hackers had the ability to go into God mode, so that way if you were PvPing them, they wouldn't be able to die, and if they were running content, they weren't able to die as well. Another thing that was spotted was some hackers going invisible and running around and freely attacking people. So if you didn't want to PvP, you didn't really have a choice. you were getting PvP'd anyways. You could just be going about your day and then all of a sudden you'd be dead. If you happen to have made a trade with a hacker, you would be teleported and you would lose all of your stuff, potentially even your character data. Now, another crazy thing that was coming out of this whole situation is that they were able to kill all the NPCs in the game on every single channel, on every single server. So if you wanted to buy, sell, repair your items, complete quests, that was not happening. And this happened a few times. Nexon would fix it, NPCs would be dead again afterwards. Another thing they could do is also fly. This is before flying as a human, flying as a giant was a thing in Mabinogi. Couples flight was not a thing. They were also able to break the character limit that the system had in place to stop spam, and they just spammed all day. All day. So at the peak of this hacking, this has caused an entire game population to get paranoid, to get crazy, to get scared, because what if you get roped into potentially getting banned because you had an interaction with this hacker? This event ran on for so long, being unchecked, unmonitored. No one was getting banned. Hackers were everywhere. The source code, the program that was causing this went public. Everyone and their father was downloading this. So with great panic like this, it caused everyone to start recording everything that they thought could potentially be a hack. Some of the claims were justified, but some people were being accused of hacking when they weren't. Some people were using boss skills that they shouldn't have access to, while some other people were just maybe a little bit laggy. Everything that was new to a person was being treated as a hack. So if you were high up on the food chain and you had skills that nobody else had, or maybe, you were just a better player, people thought you were hacking. And with paranoia like this, it turned people against each other. Honestly, I cannot imagine being the Nexon employees coming back from vacation to see this shitstorm. There were so many videos uploaded to YouTube of people being scared and reporting these things. And imagine you had a nice vacation with your family, you come back to work, and the game that you work on is in absolute disarray. Things got so bad, people started to theory craft on ways on how to prevent this. Some of the things were just simply put, log out and don't play the game until all this blows over. Another one was sit down instead of standing. For whatever reason, people thought sitting down would stop hackers from being able to hack you. Another theory was to open a camp so they can't summon you to another camp because you already have one open, so you would just get sent to yours. Another theory was to turn off view equipment, make it a little bit harder so they can't edit and steal your stuff. So with your community in shambles as a Nexon employee, what the hell would you do? Well, simply put, they shut down the game for 40 hours. They beefed up their security, and it took them quite some time. Now, they did try to help people get their stuff back. So if you lost items because of that, you could reach out to them and they would try and get it back for you, try and replace it. Or if your character data was corrupted, they were trying to restore that information for you so that way you could keep playing Mabinogi. Now, outside of that, what else did they do for the player? Now, if you weren't personally affected, this was blanket for everyone, okay? You would get 5,000 NX, 2-day extension of VIP, an upcoming 2 times XP event that, should make up for the lost time a little bit. But if you were affected by this, they were giving you an additional 5,000 NX, so that way you would get a total of 10,000. And of course, trying to get back your items and fixing your character. Now, having personally played through this event, this crazy time at Mabinogi, I wasn't too worried. I was more, I socialized more than I actually played the game, so I didn't really have anything to lose. And seeing some of these things firsthand was absolutely crazy, especially being a young kid, seeing meteors drop from the sky, seeing people just completely vanish and not be able to log in again, it was crazy. It was kind of like an adrenaline rush seeing all this happen. Because while there was a lot of cons happening, there was also a pro. The community banded together to try and stop these hackers. People were on high alert. It was like a neighborhood watch. And everyone was ready and willing to put in the work to save their game. Now, mind you, some people did take a loss. Some people lost their character data. Some people weren't able to get it back, but a lot was restored. But for me personally, a lot of my friends just stopped playing the game because they lost faith. They said if this could happen, what's going to happen in the future? What's the point of playing a game where I could potentially lose everything that I worked for? Valid criticisms, but a lot of people still kept playing, and Mabinogi's never been better. But I want to know, have you played through this crazy history of Mabinogi? Were you there? If so, tell me some of the things you witnessed, because I'm sure packet editing is crazy levels of I'm sure we didn't see everything. I'm sure there was more going on, but I'd like to hear from you. What'd you experience? Have you had any friends go through this? Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this brief history lesson and the footage I managed to dig up. If you want to join a Discord, I'm building a Discord for all things related to this YouTube channel and Mabinogi. So if you need help, you want to chat, you want to shoot the shit, feel free to click the link down below, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you next time.